I never thought I'd feel weird around someone I basically grew up with. Like, the kind of weird where your gut flips, and you suddenly notice things you'd never paid attention to before. But that's exactly what happened with Jamie. He was family. Literally. Not by blood, but close enough that I'd always just assumed he was part of the furniture. You know the type. The cousin's best friend who's been crashing on the couch since forever. The guy who knows where all the snacks are hidden. Who hovers around family dinners like he owns the place. I met Jamie when I was about 8. My cousin Matt brought him over for a weekend visit, and next thing I know, Jamie is around so much it feels like he's never leaving. Matt's family took him in during some rough patches, and over the years, Jamie became this brotherly figure to me. Protective without being overbearing, always ready with a dumb joke, and somehow managing to get away with stuff the rest of us couldn't. He was part of the background noise in my life, the guy who'd give me a knowing look when mom embarrassed me or who'd drag me outside to shoot hoops when I needed a break from family chaos. Fast forward 15 years, and here we are. Same house, same family dinners, same inside jokes, but something shifted recently, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It happened at one of those late-night hangouts in the living room, after everyone else had gone to bed. We were watching some dumb movie, just messing around, when Jamie looked at me in this way I'd never seen before. Not like the usual teasing or friendly smirk, but something quieter, heavier. It caught me so off guard I almost missed the beat. He didn't say anything, but his eyes held this vulnerability, like he wanted to say something but couldn't. I froze, because suddenly, I wasn't just looking at the guy who always had my back, or who'd laughed at my terrible jokes. I was seeing someone else, someone who maybe felt things I hadn't considered before. And just like that, the line between family and something more blurred in a way that made everything complicated. I started noticing how his smile lingered longer when he looked at me, how he'd find excuses to touch my arm, or the way he'd get quiet when I mentioned girls. I didn't know what to think or how to feel, because for so long, Jamie was just Jamie, the guy I'd grown up with. Now, I'm stuck wondering if I'm imagining things, or if maybe, just maybe, he's been feeling this way all along. And if he has, what does that even mean for us? Because the truth is, I don't want to lose what we have, but maybe, deep down, I'm already hoping it could be something more. That night, when he looked at me that way, everything changed. And I have no idea where this is going, but I'm pretty sure I want to find out. After that night, I couldn't stop replaying that look over and over in my head. It wasn't like any kind of crush I'd had before, the kind you get from seeing someone across a room or in some awkward school hallway moment. This felt different. It felt like Jamie was seeing me, a version of me I hadn't even fully figured out yet, and honestly, it freaked me out. The next day, I tried to act normal, like nothing happened. But that was impossible. Every time Jamie walked into the room, I caught myself studying him. The way his hair fell over his forehead when he was focused, the small crease that appeared between his eyebrows when he was thinking hard about something, even the way he chewed on his bottom lip when he was nervous. Details I'd never noticed before, or maybe just never cared to notice. I made a stupid excuse to hang out with him alone. We ended up at the park, the same place where we'd spent countless summer afternoons, playing basketball, or just talking shit. This time, though, the air felt different, thicker somehow. So, I said, trying to sound casual but probably sounding more like a weirdo, "Did you do that on purpose last night?" You know, look at me like that. Jamie blinked at me, clearly caught off guard. He shrugged, but the way his eyes flicked away made me think he wanted to say more, but wasn't ready. "No, man. I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but his voice was softer than usual. I laughed, trying to shake the tension. "Yeah, sure." Because that's totally believable. He smiled, but it was small, like he was holding something back. "Look, I'm not trying to freak you out or anything. It just happened." "Yeah, I get that," I said, though I didn't really. "But what does it even mean? You and me? We've been like brothers forever." Jamie looked down at his hands, then back up at me. "I know. I didn't want to mess that up. It's been building for a while. And I figured you might feel the same." I wanted to ask him how long he'd been feeling this way. A week? A month? Years? But hearing it from him made it real in a way I wasn't ready for. I don't know what I feel, I admitted. I mean, your family, Jamie. But yeah, I can't lie. I've caught myself thinking about you differently, too. His smile grew a little, and for the first time, it felt like a weight lifted between us. Not all the way, but enough to make me hopeful. Over the next few weeks, things changed in small, subtle ways. We'd text more, stuff that wasn't about family plans or whatever, but things like, "What are you thinking about right now?" Or, "Did you eat yet?" Little conversations that felt like we were reaching for something new. The other night, I caught him staring at me while I was cooking dinner, and when I turned around, he just shrugged and said, "You look happy." I don't think I ever told anyone that before. Not like that. And it made me realize how much Jamie had become part of my emotional landscape. But it wasn't all easy. There were moments where the old dynamic hung over us like a shadow, like when my mom called Jamie our son's best friend, or when Matt asked why I was so quiet during family game night. I could tell Jamie felt it too. We were tiptoeing around a secret that wasn't really secret anymore. One night, after a few drinks, Jamie and I found ourselves sitting on the roof of the house, looking out over the neighborhood. The stars were out, but the city lights made them a little fuzzy. "Do you think this changes everything?" I asked, not sure if I meant between us or just in my head. Jamie was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I don't think it has to. But it could, if we let it." I nodded because that was the truth. We both knew there was a choice here, to pretend none of it was real and go back to being the family friends we always were, or to try something different, something that scared the hell out of us. "Are you scared?" I asked him. "Terrified," he said without hesitation, "but also kind of excited." I laughed. "That's the most honest thing you've said all night." He turned to me, his eyes serious. "Look, I don't want to ruin us, but I don't want to keep pretending either. If you want to explore this, see where it goes, I'm in. If not, I get it. We'll figure it out." I looked at him and realized I was ready to take that risk. Because whatever this was, it felt like the most honest thing I'd ever felt in my life. So yeah, Jamie was like family. Until he looked at me that way. And now, I'm pretty sure family is exactly where this story begins. The days that followed felt like walking on a tightrope. Every time Jamie and I were together, there was this electric undercurrent, but neither of us wanted to snap the wire and fall. It was like we were both waiting for the other to make the first move, but also terrified of what that move might mean. One evening, we were back at the house after a long day. Everyone else had gone to bed, leaving the place silent except for the hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of the old floorboards. Jamie and I found ourselves in the kitchen, both of us grabbing snacks like it was completely normal. You ever think about how weird it is that we've been orbiting the same family for years, and this is the first time we're actually talking like this? I asked, breaking the silence. He chuckled, tearing open a bag of chips. "Yeah, it's like we had this script for how things were supposed to go, and suddenly someone ripped it up. I'm not even sure what the new script looks like." "I don't think either of us knows," I said, leaning against the counter. "But I'm tired of pretending I don't want to see where this could go." Jamie gave me that small, shy smile again, the one that makes my chest tighten. Funny, I was just about to say the same thing. We stood there for a beat, the air thick, with something that didn't need words. Then, almost like a reflex, Jamie reached out and brushed a stray lock of hair behind my ear. The touch was electric and tender all at once, and I swallowed hard. "Can I kiss you?" he asked quietly. I nodded before I even realized I was doing it. Our lips met, slow and hesitant at first, like we were both testing the waters. But then everything else fell away. The years of just friends, the unspoken rules, the fear. All that mattered was that moment, that connection. Afterwards, we sat in silence, the weight of what just happened settling between us. Jamie was the first to speak. "I don't want this to be some secret thing. I want us to be real about it." I agreed. Me too. But how do we even start? Everyone knows us as Jamie and Matt's cousin and the family friend. It's gonna be awkward. Jamie shrugged. "Maybe, but maybe that's okay. Maybe it's time for some awkward." Over the next few weeks, we tried to navigate what real meant for us. We started spending more time together. not just as background characters at family gatherings, but as something more. We went to coffee shops, wandered around the city, and even caught a few movies. Normal couple stuff if you ignore the fact that my family was basically Jamie's family. The hardest part was telling Matt. One afternoon, Jamie and I were at the park, sitting on the bench where we'd spent so many afternoons growing up, when Matt texted me, asking to meet up. I was nervous as hell. Matt and I had always been close, but I wasn't sure how he would take this. When we met, he looked at Jamie and me, then back at me. So, he said, "I guess you two are together now?" I nodded. "Yeah, we've been figuring it out." Matt smiled, the kind of smile that was equal parts teasing and genuine. "It's about damn time, honestly." I've known for a while. Jamie and I exchanged a look, surprised. "Matt," I said, "you knew?" He laughed. "You guys might be slow, but I'm slow too. Figured it out ages ago. Just waiting for you to stop pretending. That moment was a relief." Matt's acceptance made the whole thing feel less scary. If he was okay with it, maybe the rest of the family could be too. And for the most part, they were. Mom was a little shocked at first, but she warmed up quickly when she saw how happy we were. Family dinners became less about pretending and more about just enjoying each other's company. Even with the acceptance, there were still moments of uncertainty, like when Jamie and I would catch each other's eyes during conversations, wondering if one of us was overstepping a boundary. Or when we had to figure out how to balance being partners and family without feeling like it was a weird mix. But those moments were outweighed by the joy of discovering something real with someone who already knew me better than most. One night we were lying on the couch watching the city lights through the window when Jamie took my hand in his. He said, "I never thought I'd be able to tell you all this without feeling like I was risking everything. But I'm glad we did." "Me too," I said, squeezing his hand. "You were family. And now you're everything." He smiled, resting his head on my shoulder. Guess we're rewriting the script after all. And as I held him there, I realized that sometimes the people you think you know the best can still surprise you. Sometimes the family you choose turns out to be the one you never expected. Things got more complicated quicker than I thought they would. I'd braced myself for awkward family dinners or sideways glances. But I didn't expect to feel the weight of unspoken questions from the people who mattered most. It wasn't like anyone said anything directly. No one asked Jamie or me if we were official or whatever. But the way some of the older relatives looked at us was enough to make me second-guess everything. Jamie, on the other hand, seemed almost unbothered. Maybe because he'd spent so much time on the outskirts of the family that he didn't have the same expectations I did. Or maybe because he was just naturally chill about things. Whatever it was, I admired that about him. One Saturday afternoon, we found ourselves at the small neighborhood cafe where we'd started hanging out more. It was the kind of place where the barista knew your name after a few visits and where you could disappear into a corner booth without being noticed. Jamie was scrolling through his phone, and I was watching the way his eyebrows furrowed when he read something, a little crease forming between them that I'd come to associate with intense concentration. "What's up?" I asked, nudging his shoulder. He looked up, a little hesitant. "It's my old roommate. He wants to know if I'm coming back to the city next month. Said there's a job opening." I blinked. "The city? Which one? You mean like the one you moved away from years ago?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah, New York. I thought I was over it, but maybe it's time to think about going back." We sat in silence for a minute, the noise of the cafe fading into the background. I wanted to be supportive, but the thought of Jamie leaving threw my insides into a knot. "So what does this mean for us?" I asked quietly. Jamie sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know. I thought maybe I'd figured it out, but now I'm second-guessing everything." I reached across the table and grabbed his hand. "You don't have to decide right now. We can figure this out together." He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I wish I could stay here with you, but part of me feels like I need to go back, see if I can make peace with my past." His past. That word always carried so much weight with Jamie. He never talked about it much, but I knew there were things he hadn't shared. Stuff that made him the way he was. Over the next few days, the tension between us grew. It wasn't about anything we said or did. It was the silence, the uncertainty hanging in the air. I found myself waking up in the middle of the night, heart racing, thinking about what losing Jamie would mean, not just as a partner, but as the person who had become my anchor. One evening, I decided I couldn't keep it bottled up anymore. We were sitting on the couch, the TV on but forgotten, when I blurted out, "Jamie, if you go back to New York, what happens to us?" He looked at me, eyes soft but sad. "I don't want to lose you, but I'm scared that staying here means I'm just running away from something I need to face." I swallowed hard. "We'll figure it out. Distance doesn't mean the end. If what we have is real, it'll survive." He nodded, but I could tell he wasn't fully convinced. The next week, things got busier. Jamie started applying for jobs in New York, and I helped him polish his resume and practiced interview questions. It was surreal, acting like the perfect supportive boyfriend while my gut screamed that I was about to lose the person I cared about most. One night, after a long day, Jamie and I took a walk through the park where we'd shared so many memories. The streetlights cast a soft glow, and the world felt quieter than usual. "Do you ever regret telling me how you felt?" I asked him, my voice barely above a whisper. He stopped and looked at me, eyes reflecting the dim light. "Not for a second. You changed everything for me. But I am scared too, scared of what comes next." I reached out and pulled him close, resting my forehead against his. "Whatever happens, I'm here. We'll figure it out." He smiled, a fragile but genuine smile. "Promise me something?" "Anything. Don't let go, even if I'm not here. Don't let us, slip away." "I won't," I said firmly. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Jamie got the job offer. It was everything he'd hoped for and more. But accepting it meant moving back to New York in less than a month. We spent every moment we could together, making memories and trying to imagine what the future would hold. We talked about visits, about long-distance challenges, about the possibility of me moving with him someday. But we didn't have answers, just hope. The day Jamie left was brutal. Standing at the airport, watching him disappear through the security gate, I felt like a part of me had been ripped away. But as I drove home, I realized something important. Jamie wasn't just the guy who'd been like family. He was the person who'd taught me how to love without boundaries, how to take risks, and how to be honest with myself. And no matter the distance, no matter the uncertainty, I wasn't gonna let go. Because sometimes, the most unexpected love stories are the ones worth fighting for. I didn't expect the silence to hit me so hard. After Jamie left, the house felt emptier than ever. Even though it was the same old place, same furniture, same walls I had lived with my whole life. But without him, everything felt off. Like I was missing a piece I didn't realize was there all along. The first few days were the worst. My phone buzzed constantly. Texts from Jamie, late-night calls, video chats that stretched into the early morning hours. We tried to keep things light, joking and sharing bits of our days, but there was this undercurrent of something unspoken, like we were both trying to convince ourselves this distance wasn't going to change anything. One night, maybe a week after he left, I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone, trying to distract myself, when his name popped up on my screen. I answered, and his face appeared, tired but smiling. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey," I replied, my voice catching. There was a pause, like we were both hesitant to say what was really on our minds. "How's the city treating you?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Jamie laughed, a little bitter. "It's big, loud, and kind of overwhelming, but I'm managing." "Yeah? You sure you're not just trying to make me jealous?" He grinned. "Maybe a little." We talked for a while after that, about work, the weather, dumb things, but I could tell something was bothering him. "Talk to me," I said finally. He sighed. "I don't know. I thought moving back here would fix some things inside me, but it's just stirred up more." I felt my chest tighten. "Do you want to talk about it?" Jamie hesitated. "Not sure. It's messy." "Hey," I said. "Messy is okay. I'm here." The next few weeks were a roller coaster. Jamie's work hours were erratic, and sometimes our calls got cut off. I found myself lying awake, wondering what he was doing, who he was with, and if he was thinking about me as much as I thought about him. Then came the day he dropped the bombshell. We were on a video call, him sitting on his tiny apartment couch, me in my room back home. He looked tired, and there was a seriousness in his eyes that immediately set off alarm bells. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly. My heart rate spiked. Okay. He took a deep breath. There's someone here. Someone I met at work. I didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. I didn't want to hurt you. I stared at the screen, words failing me. I'd known long distance was hard, but I never thought he'd be the one to slip up. How long? I finally managed. Just a few weeks. It's nothing serious, I swear. I just got lonely. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to yell or shut off the call and pretend none of this was happening, but all I could do was sit there, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. Jamie, I said, voice shaking, why didn't you tell me sooner? I was scared. I didn't want to lose you. I don't know what to say. Maybe we need to rethink this. Maybe this distance is too much. The call ended shortly after that, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a heavy heart. For days, I was a mess. I tried to convince myself it was just a mistake, that Jamie still cared, that we could get past this, but the doubt gnawed at me, relentless and cruel. One afternoon, I found myself wandering to the old park bench where we'd shared so many conversations, the place that had become our unofficial spot. I sat there, staring at the empty space beside me, imagining him sitting close, his hand in mine. I didn't want to give up, not on us, but I also didn't know how to hold on when the person I loved was slipping away. Then, out of nowhere, my phone buzzed, a text from Jamie. I'm sorry, I messed up. I want to fix this, if you'll let me. I stared at the message, heart pounding. Part of me wanted to reply immediately, to tell him I forgave him, that we'd get through this. But another part of me held back, afraid of getting hurt again. I texted back, let's talk, when you're ready. That night, we had one of the hardest conversations we'd ever had. No distractions, no jokes, just honesty laid bare. Jamie told me about his fears, his loneliness in a new city, and how he'd made a stupid mistake. I told him about my pain, my confusion, and how much I wanted to believe in us. By the end of the call, we agreed to try again. To rebuild what we had, brick by brick. It wouldn't be easy, it might never be the same, but maybe, just maybe, it was worth fighting for. Because love, real love, isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, even when the future is uncertain. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful again. After that night, things started to shift. It wasn't magic or instant forgiveness. Far from it. We had to rebuild trust in a way neither of us was prepared for, and it wasn't always pretty. But the honesty between us created this fragile new foundation, and I was holding on to it with everything I had. Jamie and I kept up the late-night calls, but they felt different, more raw, less rehearsed. We talked about everything, his struggles adapting to the city, my own fears about being left behind, and the weird awkwardness of trying to be a couple when we'd spent so long as just family. Sometimes, we'd stumble into uncomfortable territory, but we never shied away from it. One weekend, about 2 months after he moved, Jamie surprised me with a plane ticket. Come visit me, he'd said over the phone, his voice shaky but hopeful. I spent the next week preparing, excited and nervous at the same time. New York was a world away from our small town, glitzy and overwhelming, but the thought of seeing him in his element made my heart race. When I landed, Jamie was waiting for me at the airport, looking exhausted, but grinning like a kid. We hugged tight, like we were squeezing out all the months of distance and doubt into that moment. His apartment was small, tiny even, but cozy. Books piled everywhere, a couple of plants struggling for life by the window, and pictures taped to the fridge. Some of his friends, a few of us back home, and one awkward selfie of us together. Over the next few days, Jamie became my personal tour guide. We wandered through the city streets, got lost on the subway, and found these little hole-in-the-wall spots where the food was incredible and the music was loud. At night, we'd sit on his fire escape, the city lights stretching out below us, and talk about everything. One night, after a long walk through Central Park, Jamie stopped under a street lamp, his face lit softly by the glow. I've been thinking, he said, about us, about what I want. I held my breath, waiting. I want this to be more than weekend visits and late-night calls. I want you here with me. I looked at him, heart in my throat. Are you serious? Yeah, I know it's crazy. I know it's a lot to ask. But I'm done running, and I want you in my life. In this city, every day. The idea of leaving home, my family, my familiar life was terrifying. But looking at Jamie, seeing that hopeful, nervous expression, I felt a surge of determination. I want that too, I admitted. But it's scary, he smiled, reaching for my hand. Scary is okay. We can be scared together. That weekend, I met some of his friends. They were welcoming, warm, and curious about the story behind us. It felt like I was getting a glimpse into a whole new world, the one Jamie had been trying to build for himself. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were moments when I felt out of place, like a visitor in a city that wasn't mine, grappling with the noise and pace. And Jamie had his own battles, dealing with work stress, the weight of past mistakes, and the pressure of making this new life work. One evening, after a particularly rough day at the office, Jamie came home frustrated, slumping onto the couch. I feel like I'm drowning sometimes, he confessed. Like, no matter how hard I try, I'm not enough. I sat beside him, pulling him close. You are enough. You always have been. He leaned into me, and for a moment, the city outside faded away. That weekend was a turning point. I realized that love wasn't about perfection or grand gestures. It was about being there in the messy, difficult moments. It was about choosing each other, over and over, even when things got complicated. When it was time for me to fly back home, the goodbye was bittersweet. But this time, it wasn't filled with doubt or fear. It was filled with plans and promises. We'll figure this out, Jamie said, holding my face gently. Together, I nodded, feeling a quiet strength settle over me. Back home, things felt different. I wasn't just the guy Jamie left behind. I was someone with a stake in a bigger story, one that stretched across miles but didn't break. We kept building our life in two places, learning to navigate the distance still, but with new hope and trust. And every time I caught Jamie's smile on a video call or heard his voice after a long day, I knew that this, us, was worth every risk, because sometimes the most unexpected love stories don't start with fireworks. They start with a look, a moment, a choice, to be brave enough to say yes, even when everything feels uncertain. And I'm glad we did. About 6 months after that visit, I made the decision I'd been wrestling with for weeks. Packing up my life back home wasn't easy. There were family, routines, familiar streets, everything that had made me feel safe and grounded for so long. But there was also Jamie, and the life we were building together, even if it was scary and uncertain. The night before I moved, Jamie and I sat on his fire escape again, the city skyline glowing behind us. The air was cool, and the sounds of distant traffic mixed with the hum of voices from nearby apartments. I looked over at him, and he smiled that same shy, hopeful smile that had pulled me in from the start. You sure about this? He asked softly. I nodded, squeezing his hand. Yeah, I'm scared, but I'm also ready. Ready to be here, with you. He pulled me close, and we stayed like that for a long time, no need for words. That moment felt like the closing of one chapter and the opening of another, a beginning built on trust, love, and the messy, beautiful reality of two people choosing each other every day. Moving in together wasn't a fairy tale. We had to learn how to share space, merge habits, and navigate the ups and downs of life in a big city. There were disagreements and moments when the distance between our pasts felt wide. But every morning I woke up next to Jamie, all that uncertainty felt worth it. One afternoon, as we were cooking dinner in our tiny kitchen, Jamie caught me looking at him with that same affection that had started it all. You know, he said, I never thought this would be how it turned out. From family to this. I laughed softly. Neither did I, but I wouldn't change a thing. He reached over and kissed me. A simple, quiet kiss filled with everything words couldn't say. Looking back, I realized that sometimes the people you think you know best still surprise you. Sometimes, the love you didn't expect becomes the love you can't live without. Jamie wasn't just the guy who was like family. He became my home. And that's the story I carry with me. The story of how a look changed everything, and how taking a chance on something real can lead you exactly where you're meant to be.